Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So the lighting in this video is kind of weird. I just have the Ryobi light here in the barn. It's very dreary out this evening, but I wanted to actually show you guys Rosie's babies before I kind of get into like what this week has entailed, because it has honestly been pretty crazy and it's only Wednesday. Like, honestly, when it rains around here, it freaking pours. And that's kind of been Tracy and I's life. The whole like 12 and a half years that we've been together, that's just pretty much just been the reoccurring theme of as soon as things get comfortable, become somewhat easy, become somewhat calm, they get crazy. So first off, let's talk about Rosie. So she ended up having 4 babies, but she ended up not having them until Sunday morning. So she kept seeming like she was in labor and kept having all these signs and seemed really open, and like you could see the mucus plug and like there was discharge and all sorts of stuff. Everything that you read about, she had all them signs for several days leading up to when she finally had babies. So she only ended up having them 1 day early, as opposed to last year it was like 3 weeks early. So without further ado, I'd like to show you guys, for those of you that are not following our farm page on Facebook, I know a long time ago I made a post about that I wasn't doing social media at all anymore, but I ended up going back on that just for business purposes and just so that way I could show like pictures of different animals and beauty and fun things that we're doing and stuff like that. I don't actually use Facebook for anything except for farm stuff. So anyways, for those of you that did not see this on Facebook, I want to show you guys the little cuties. So we have our biggest guy. I can grab him. Come here. I've been calling him Petal. Rosie's name is obviously Rosie because that's kind of like a flower. But so we kind of stuck with that whole theme for her whole litter because we did that with her sister Daisy. We had Blossom and Flower, so we're just kind of rolling with it. So this little guy here, he is Petal. My uncle actually is going to be getting this little guy because he has goats too and he needs a new buck. So he's going to stay intact and go to my uncle. And Uncle Ronnie, if you're watching this, this is the other little guy. So this one here I've been calling Lion. His twin brother, well, triplet brother, his name is Dandy, short for, obviously Dandy Lion. So then she also, this here's Dandy. Dandy is the runt of the litter. So he actually has been sleeping in the house at night, and throughout most of the day he's actually been being inside. We've been kind of bottle feeding him and letting him be with his mom and his siblings. So basically throughout the daytime, like in the afternoon, we let him come in here for a couple hours. And sometimes Rosie lets him nurse, sometimes she doesn't. So he's pretty much a bottle baby, for lack of any other terminology. So she did let him nurse once today. So that was good. But for the most part, once it starts becoming evening time, she's like, get him out of here. He's too small. I can't take care of him. I can't do this many babies. So we only had one little girl born, and we've been calling her Daffodil. So we aren't planning on keeping any of these babies. So Dandy and Daffodil are, stop flailing. They are actually both available for sale. We don't have prices set yet. My uncle asked me what the price was and I'm like, I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. They're like 2 days old, 3 days old, something like that. But so they're all doing really well. Super duper cute, super cuddly, super fun to be around. So back into the main thing that's going on. So this week on Tuesday, Roscoe, our dog, he actually had to have surgery on his ear because the other dog that we rescued was playing around with him and actually like messed up part of his ear. It's been messed up for a few weeks now and it just kept growing. This mass kept growing and growing and growing. So we had to have that taken care of, which was extremely expensive, as you guys could probably imagine. So that was kind of a big hit. And then with my knee injury on Thursday from Lucky, which I have decided actually, this has been a really hard decision. I actually decided after he was dragging me through the barn that it was time to say goodbye. So as you guys know, Lucky is one that we've actually sold in the past, but we've taken him to farmers markets and we've had fun with him. And like, he's my friend, he's my buddy, he's my baby, he's my companion. But I can't have, with all of the issues that I have with my own body, I honestly cannot have animals that are big enough to overpower me to that extent to where I'm just basically being drugged like a rag doll. So my knee is actually pretty jacked still. On Saturday, I ended up going to the ER because of how bad my knee hurt, and this happened Thursday night. So my knee just basically, it keeps swelling up randomly and being red and hot to the touch. I'll show you guys it real quick. It basically just looks like a scrape, but all in this area over in here, and then over in here, and then down into here. Pretty much at nighttime, whenever I like sit down to rest it or lay down or anything of the sort, it just starts swelling up and turning bright red and getting very, very hot. So I can't bend it all the way. Today I actually had to drive a stick shift car, our stick shift car, to town, which was like 10 miles, and that was pretty much agonizing because it's my left knee. So that was fun. So I had called to make a doctor's appointment today because at the ER they said if it didn't clear up by Monday and feel all better by Monday, then, you know, I need to see a doctor. So, you know, typical Lindsay fashion, I wait till Wednesday. Plus my wife really was persuasive that I need to go. So I have to go tomorrow to get that looked at again. So they're concerned that there might be some sort of infection going on inside of the joint. So I don't really know. I have an extremely high pain tolerance, so it's kind of like, I don't know. I walked and worked for several months with 2 ruptured tendons in my ankle, and I worked a very physical job in nursing homes. So I mean, kind of a beast when it comes to dealing with joint pain. So that's kind of a bummer, but you know, it is what it is. So the other thing that happened was the reason we had to take the stick shift car today was because our newer car that we got right after we moved here, it actually started like misfiring. So we went to do a tune-up on it. We got spark plugs while we were in town, all that stuff. And when we pulled the like the coil pack, the boot thingy-majig out of there, the one spark plug area, it was completely filled with oil. So that's indicative, whatever. Today is not, words are not a friend of mine today. I've not been sleeping hardly at all because of the knee. I can't get comfortable. So I already struggle really bad with insomnia. Then you add in a new injury and it just goes right out the window. I've honestly been awake since like 12:30 this morning because I had to get up to feed Dandy, which he's not. Pedo here, he's the biggest, so he can jump up onto the little stand thing that we have over here so that way the goats can get outside and stuff. But anyways, yeah, sleep has not been a friend of mine. So anyways, we found out that basically the valve cover gasket needs replaced on that car. Thankfully that car is still under warranty, so it should be covered under warranty. So yeah, it's just one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing after another thing. There was other things that happened today too, but it's deeply personal. Stuff with an OBGYN that I had to go to today, and it just basically I have to do more therapy. More freaking therapy. You know, it's just, I'll just tell you guys. EDS, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It can cause problems with your internal organs trying to prolapse and fall back out. So you guys can pick up the gist on there, what's going on with that with me. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been really fun. It is kind of comical now because like years ago, whenever we'd have these weeks where it was just like boom, 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 you know, life just pretty much just like sucker punching us in the face. You know, we'd lay down and we'd just crumble and we'd be like, what is wrong? We can't do this. But now we're just like, whatever. Like, it'll all pan out. It'll all work itself out the way that it's meant to. So it is kind of hard for me with dealing with, you know, an injury and then another weird issue and all this stuff, and knowing that like genetically, like things like this are going to keep happening with me most likely. And like, that's why I work so hard. That's why I'm so physically active. That's why I work out all the time. That's why I'm, you know, do a lot of work to keep my body physically strong, because that's the only way to compensate for, you know, having such laxity in the joints and such hypermobility and stuff. But I mean, like, gravity is one of those things that is also a big proponent in this that I've recently discovered. So yeah. Yeah, it is frustrating, honestly. It is frustrating when we have these weeks, because it literally, like, every time our lives start getting somewhat comfortable where we're like, it's getting easy. Something's up. Something's got to be up. And then usually it's like boom, 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 and just all this stuff. But it usually only happens in 1 week time period. Last time that this happened, it was back in July, and that's when I had the collarbone injury. My wife had a cancer scare. That's when I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and that's when we got Roscoe, and like all these things. Oh, and that's when we found out that our other dog was going to die from congestive heart failure, and like it was like a crazy week then. So it's just one of those things where it's just like all of life's lessons for like a quarterly period get dealt to us in 1 week. So I mean, it is what it is. It kind of sucks, but you know, we'll get through it. We know that when things like this happen, it usually is to clear space to make room for something bigger and better, and which at this point, I don't know what's bigger and better with my knee. I really don't. But yeah, so I am pretty bummed out about the whole Lucky situation, just because he has been such a big part of my life for the last 3 years. Like, he was basically what made me fall in love with goats, but he's also what now is making me hate having goats, because he is, Rosie here, she weighs about 45 pounds. He is easily twice her size. It's to the point with having somewhat recently, the last couple months, whatever, injuring my back, I can't pick him up anymore. So back when I could pick him up, I would have guessed that he was about 90 pounds, which is huge for a Nigerian dwarf. Like I said before, I don't think he's a purebred. But yeah, he should only be max like 50, 60 pounds. Our intact male is, I think, like 55 pounds. So that should give you some indication as to how big he is. But yeah, that's honestly, that's why we don't raise large livestock, is because I've always wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get trampled to death or drug around the barn like a rag doll. And that's what happened. And I'm just, obviously I didn't get trampled to death, but you guys know. Yeah. So I'm going to cut this off here because I have other things to do, and I'm getting quite uncomfortable from being somewhat kneeling, squatting in a weird, this is all I can do. I can't bend this any further. That's mud on my leg. It's not anything crazy, but I can't bend the knee any further, and I can't straighten it out like all the way. So I'm guessing that there's some sort of issue with like the meniscus or the bursa in my knee. I don't know. So I'll keep you guys posted if I find anything out tomorrow. I probably won't. They're probably just going to say, hey, that sucks. You should go to orthopedic, and then they'll refer me to an ortho or something of the sort. So I don't know. But yeah, lady at the intake thing when I called kind of has me a little stressed out, but it'll be all right. Everything will be fine. Everything will work out the way that it's meant to, the way that it ought to be and stuff. Plus, you know, got little goats to watch. Figures. As soon as I put the camera on her, she stopped jumping around. She was literally like hopping. Oh, are you going to do it again? Are you going to do it, Daffodil? No. She's kind of itched. She's too busy. So anyways, I'm going to get Dandy, take him in the house, get him a bottle going. Yeah, and try to relax for a little while till it's time to lock everybody up. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.